everybody for being here. And I was worried no one was going to show up. So today I'm going to share this story of one of the most important, I want to move. Okay. I'm going to share this story of one of the most important projects that I worked on last year. And I'm really excited. This was good. I learned a lot. So I divided the presentation into 4 parts. The first is the background. I'm going to start talking about myself, the background, a little bit who I am. Then I'm going to start talking a little bit about the background of the project itself. Then for the second part are the challenges. It's a beautiful word, but sometimes we run into problems. So I'm going to share a little bit of the challenges that I run into when I was in the implementing the prototype. For the third part, I'm going to move beyond the prototype. And I'm going to go into the recommendations that I did when this prototype moved into production. And lastly, for the wrap-up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the major lessons that I learned. So, who am I? I remember when I sent the presentation to my manager for review, he said I didn't have this part. And he said, make sure you share why they should think your opinion is important and your experience is relevant to them. So that's what I'm going to start, saying that I was born and raised in Venezuela, because for some reason this should be very important to you. But I've been in the United States for more than 20 years. So for the last 20 years, I forgot, but more than 20 years I've been in the United States. I got a computer science major out of New Mexico State. And the reason why I have a key there, because New Mexico is nice, it's very peaceful. How many of you has been in the United States? If you can raise your hand. Okay, can you raise it higher, because I cannot see who has it. Okay, half and half. Because I'm always sitting down there and I always half and half. So anyhow, New Mexico is very beautiful, but why? Oh, that's okay. New Mexico is very beautiful, but it was a little bit too slow for me. So I got a major out of New Mexico State University, and then that was my key to move to beautiful California. So I moved. Is any way that we can get rid of this thing, the button, or not? Oh, that's fine. Just because I have a demo and I want to make sure that we have enough time for all of it. So that's where I moved to San Jose, California, Silicon Valley, and I have been there for more than 15 years. So I started as a developer. I worked for IBM, and then a tester, and then for the last 7 years, I've been a solutions engineer. Being a solutions engineer, and I work for AppDynamics, so being a solutions engineer, and especially for AppDynamics, has given me the opportunity to work with multiple customers. So, and I have seen several shifts. I remember when I was a developer in IBM, when we were doing the waterfall model, and every Friday, the releases, I started in the mainframe, so the releases were every 2 years we had a major release. So I remember going from the waterfall and started getting the instructions in how we're going to move into Agile. So that was quite a long time ago. Also, I started going from monolithic into the SOA. And I traveled all around the world, giving presentations how you can break down your mainframe into services that were exposed via SOA. Now I'm doing the same thing with AppDynamics, like helping our customers moving from monolithic to microservices. What else I have done? Working with AppDynamics, that's what I do now, like as a solutions engineer. I have the opportunity to work in different industries. So I have worked with customers that do banking, that do insurance. And I just moved last September, because I wanted a warmer weather. I was in San Francisco. I moved to Venice Beach. So that has given me the opportunity to work in the entertainment industry, so movie industry. So that's really fun. So I have experience going all the way from entertainment, banking, insurance. The story that I'm going to share today is one that one of my last engagements that I had in San Francisco. It's an insurance company, and this is one of the hardest ones, but I learned a lot. So I cannot say their name, but they are a large insurance company based out of San Francisco. And the reason why I have a baby picture there is because they were early adopters. They were early adopters. So if you think about in the late 1990s, they have digital presence only. For today companies, that's not a big deal. Just being digital only, probably that's the default. But if you think about it, if you're an insurance company that you don't have, like early 2000s, late 1990s, and you don't have a physical location, you only have a website. I don't think cell phones existed back there, so that was like revolutionary. And still, that's the way they are. They don't have any physical location. So the only way that money comes through this insurance company is through their portals. So they have to be fast, and they have to provide a new functionality. However, that's not how they are. It turns out that the company, their digital portals was slow. Their website was slow. Their mobile application was slow. In addition to that, they cannot provide new functionality. For example, that was something that they suffered a lot from, is just requesting a new quote. It's this new feature, like people just take pictures of their driver's license. You just go with your cell phone. I need to get an insurance, especially the new millennials. I need to get an insurance. Let me see how much it costs. They take a picture of the driver's license. The app reads all the information from the driver's license, and then they have the quote. Insurance couldn't implement that. They were way too slow. So that was hurting them, and they were losing a lot of money. What they say is like, okay, we know what the answer is. It's DevOps. We need to be able to, our application needs to be faster, and we need to provide the new features. We need to be able to allow people to pay taking a picture of their credit card. No one is going to see them type the numbers or just come and type, their address and everything just to get a quote. So that's what they say. We're going to measure performance, and this is what I come in. App Dynamics, we do application performance monitoring, and we help companies to achieve lift. So that's how I come in. And we're going to measure the performance, and we're going to do release validation. We want to provide more functionality. We're going to have the right infrastructure. So they didn't have cloud or microservices and containers. We're going to start breaking down everything. So part of this project and what I work on, they have everything was no containers, was on site. So they say, I'm going to Dockerize the application. I'm going to move this into Docker containers. And I'm going to move these containers into the cloud. So that was part of the challenge. And for the part two, the challenges, I'm going to start with the not technical ones. It was just, they knew it that DevOps was the answer, but they didn't know what DevOps really was. So they wanted to do everything. They say, we don't know if we want to do Google Cloud Platform or we want to do AWS ECS. Let's run the prototype. Let's run the prototype and everything to see how everything goes. So that wasn't realistic because they wanted to do it in a few months, and we couldn't run a prototype for Google Cloud and ECS, for example. So the way that I went, and that's the reason. It was the project size. So when I came in, that's one of the problems that we have is that the project size was too big. The reason is that they didn't have a target. So the solution is that I told the team, we work together, and we say, okay, we're going to choose one cloud provider, AWS ECS, technology, ECS. Let's choose one application. and we decided on one application that have Java, .NET, Node.js. I don't have MongoDB, but that was another of the containers. And the operating system, we have Linux and Windows for .NET. So once that we scope the project, that helped a lot because we had a target, and even ourselves as a team, we're really excited that we had a target. So the second challenge, let me make sure I don't get the second challenge that we have is that it wasn't enough information in the web. So, I mean, sometimes I'm writing a program, I don't understand the language that well, but if the program has been around long enough, I can just Google. And a lot of people have tried to do the same that I have done before. This was done last year. What was that? Oh, the .NET Docker image running on Windows. And for AWS ECS wasn't around for that long. So a lot of the things I had to try myself. That wasn't fun. Stack Overflow didn't save my life. My friend saved my life. But so not having that information, like everything being so new, and if it's a little bit of disconnect of what the execs expect. C-level, and I don't know if they understand. Like, yes, DevOps is great and it's amazing, but when things start new, we have to do a lot of discovery as a technical person. So that was one of the challenges. Also, and this is more of, I think, a personal challenge, I don't like to ask for help. I'm just so used to figuring things out myself. So after a while, after a few tries, I have to work as a team. Especially I wasn't that great at Windows. So I wasn't that great at the PowerShell. So that was the second challenge done there. The third challenge, and they're somehow familiar, and these are the not technical ones, then we're going to go into the technical ones, was just working as a team was a little bit difficult. And the reason why it was difficult, as a people, sometimes it's hard to work as a team, but especially in this case, it's because not everybody was at the same level. Some people have experience with AWS, other people have experience with Google Cloud, others have experience with NAND, Kubernetes, ECS, and like Windows, .NET, some knew nothing. So, but they were employees of the same company. So we all have to together as a team. What I did that really helped is I did workshops and I broke it down. Okay, today we're going to talk about containers. And these are the basics. This is what you need to do. So that was very helpful. The level set so that everybody could be on the same page. Let's go a little bit now into the technical challenge. And in people challenge, I have more challenges, but just those are the ones that stuck the most. And I think they were, I don't want to say the easiest, the ones to fix, but the ones that had the biggest impact to fix. So the technical challenge. The first challenge, and before we go into the challenge, let's level set. Let's make sure that we all know a little bit about Docker. So a container. What is an application container? So an application container is a piece of software that contains everything that the application needs to run. And when I say everything, I'm talking about the application code. And for some of you, this may be very basic, and this may be what people are living now, but I learned that we all have to level set. So it just have everything the application needs to run. It includes the application code. If it needs any libraries, any dependencies, if I'm talking about Node.js, for example, and it needs modules, every single module that the Node.js application needs to run is inside this container. Also, if I have any libraries dependencies out of the operating system, that is going to be part of this software, this application container. And one of the biggest advantages, and many of you may know this, is that it allows developers run their code in their laptop the same way that it would be run into production. So what is Docker? Docker is just a tool, a software tool that allows to create these containers. So very simple. I need containers that are going to allow my application to run, if I'm running in my laptop in production, run the same. And Docker is a tool that is going to allow me to create these containers. If we think about the Docker architecture and how it works. So we have two pieces. We have what we see right here. Let me see. The client. And that's the one that is going to make the request. And we have the server. So a very simple Docker, the engine, the software, is a very simple client and server application. And the client, the CLI, could be a CLI. That's like how many people interact with Docker. Like I can run this image, or run this container, run this image that will create the container. We see right here the client is going to issue requests to the Docker daemon via the CLI or the API. Tools like, for example, the tool that I work for, AppDynamics, monitors the Docker. And the way that it interacts with the Docker itself is using the Docker daemon. So the first tech challenge that I run into. So I got the Java application, or the Java tier running into Docker with no problem. That was easy to do. The Node.js, however, I saw the container coming up, just die. It went away. I didn't know why, but luckily for me, there were many people that have tried this before, and they had the same experience. So what was going on is that it wasn't a process that was running, so the container could stay up. So just Node.js came up. It just did what it needed to do. It was a very simple application. We wanted to start simple. Remember, it was a prototype. So it just did what it had to do, but it didn't have a process so that it could stay up and keep the container going. So I went, and I found, I did a Google search. I think I typed, container doesn't stay up. And what I needed to do is just have an entry point that's going to point to the Node.js process. And then I need the PM, which is a package management, that's going to ensure that that Node.js process stays up. So that was it. Very simple solution. Thank God to Google on that one. That was pretty quick. So having the Node.js container, the MongoDB container, the Docker container, bringing that one up was easy because it was just spooling the image. The Java container, having that one up was really easy. The Node.js took a little bit, probably a couple days, but it wasn't a big deal. So the second thing, the second issue that I run into, and this is mostly related with the tool that I work for, the AppDynamics, and it wasn't an issue that the tool was causing. It's just because the way that, if you remember, the way that the tool works, and I mentioned this early, it's just that it's going to issue queries to the Docker container API, to the Docker daemon. And because I wasn't mounting the Unix volume, it couldn't access that. So it couldn't ask questions to the Docker daemon. So it discovered one container, but because I didn't mount all the different values of the socket, then it couldn't access the API and ask questions to the Docker daemon. So that was the second challenge. And that took a little bit, even though it was in the instructions, but I didn't want to read instructions, so I just wanted to play around, and I wanted to understand how the tool worked. And I said, okay, it cannot access the API, it cannot access the Docker daemon, the API, that's why it's not discovering, so I need to map the socket file. And of course, it was in the instructions. But it was the second challenge, because, and this was fun because it gave me a lot of appreciation of how we can, once that you understand the basis of Docker and how it works, how I can discover things. So the third challenge, it was the Docker daemon wasn't coming up. And this is, so let me probably back up a little bit. I was running for Java and .NET, for Java and Node.js. I was running in Linux. So Docker engine comes up very easy. There is no issue. And I was doing everything in EC2, so EC2 instances. However, for .NET, I was running in Windows. I needed to run Docker in Windows. I needed Hyper-V, and I was doing this out of EC2 instances. So I'm going to go over this again because this is a lot, and I don't know like who knows what, and like so I'm just going to level set one more time, and I apologize for those of you or not that knows this. So I was running out of EC2, so I was depending on an image. I was running Docker. I was in Linux. It was Windows, and I needed an Hyper-V so I can do the Linux. So it was relatively new. And this took me a week to figure it out because I was just going over the PowerShell, like going into the Hyper-V. I mean, why is not the Docker engine coming up? This was, and I had never thought until like finally out of desperation, I asked a friend, I'm like, can you help me with this? And he installed the latest image out of EC2, the Amazon EC2 AWS, and everything just worked. So it was just a bug in the image that I had installed in my computer. It was nothing I could have done because everything was so new, and I never suspected Amazon. I thought Amazon was perfect. I never suspected that the EC2 image had a bug. That cost me days to, yes. And finally, when like my colleague just installed it in work, and like, okay, this is awesome. That was the next challenge. So this is not a challenge, but I think it's worth mentioning. Is for the AWS, the ECS, everything works as magic, and I have just the magic there, because once that you have the task, and I don't know if you can see, but once that you have the task, and you put everything, which is pretty much like the Docker Compose. Who of you have worked with ECS before? Can you raise hands? Okay. What about Docker Compose? Okay, so this was very similar. What you have to do for the ECS task is just like Docker Compose. And once that you, I just did a copy, I did a Google search from Docker Compose to ECS task. And once that I did that, I found like some tool, then this just worked. You brought the containers up. When we presented at the C-level, this was very nice. We just press a button and everything looked nice, and we have some dashboards. So that conversion, that transition, once that, because I had the Docker Compose, going from the Compose to the AWS ECS, that task, that was relatively easy. So that's something that I wanted to mention. I don't know, any questions? We have time. Like any questions or any comments? Okay, just going to keep going then. So now let's go into the part 3. This was, we didn't, into the prototype, we finished work, everybody happy in the sense at the level of prototype. And this is something that I wanted to save to the end, but I guess there's no way of going to the next part without sharing. When people do these prototypes and they say we're going to move into DevOps, they forget that the most important part is just the culture and the mind change. So I worked with this company, with this insurance company, almost a year ago. And they only, it's not only, but at least they decided that they want to go with ECS, AWS, and that they're working on that. But they haven't moved to production yet. So they haven't broken down all their applications and put it into containers. So that is still working on that. But part of the recommendations that we did, and I'm going to do a live demo of my tool right now, is just one that they go up and running. Start implementing, like how are they going to, when there is a problem, now they're going to have these Docker images, they're going to add something new to their application. If there is application performance problem, how are they going to debug that? That's where I'm going to do a live demo of my tool. With my tool, I wish it were mine. It's called App Dynamics. And let's see. So, who of you, if you raise hands, have heard of App Dynamics before? Okay. So for those of you who don't know what App Dynamics is, it's an application performance monitoring tool. You can, similar of, I wouldn't say Datadog, but like Datadog, so it's one of them, sponsors, Dynatrace, New Relic, so that type of tool. So the App Dynamics is one of them. And the reason why I'm showing right here, this is like the application in the last 1 hour. So the different tiers of the application, App Dynamics automatically discover all of this. And we can see in the last hour, this little node, that this tier, the Node.js API services, is red. So this is real traffic. I guess I can go for the last 5 minutes. The same thing, nothing that. But anyhow, in the last hour, I see the red there. Instead, I went to investigate what's going on. I know I did a new application deployment. I know that far. And I start like seeing this, I start getting alerts, and now I need to understand what's going on. Is this related to my Docker images? So I'm going to double click here to see what the heck is going on. And then I'm going to go into the nodes. And you can think of the nodes as the different Docker containers. So each of those nodes that I have inside that Node.js API, I have 12 Docker containers. So I see in the last hour, this is like hard to see. So out of this, let's see, those 12 Docker containers, 4 of them are having issues. If I click into this, I see that the issue is that the error rate is higher than normal. So just to recap, I have a new release. My Node.js tier is having issues. I have inside, let's go back. Inside the Node.js tier right here, I have 12 what we call nodes or 12 Docker containers. I'm trying to figure out what the error is. Why is going on. I mean, what the error is, we know we have more errors than normal. We want to know why. I know I had a new release. So let's figure it out. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to start playing with the metrics in the container itself, in the Docker containers. So let's start seeing, like, my first suspicion is that release. I'm doing the canary release, so I think it's given to the canary release. I'm going to go to the right, actually, let me get the glasses, because, do I need the glasses? No, I don't, okay. See it right here. So the Node.js API tier, that's where I'm having the issues, that's where I'm going there. And then the release. This happens to be Kubernetes, but it could be ECS. So I have my Docker containers in a group in Kubernetes. And then, so if we navigate here, I can see the canary release and the stable release. This is not part of the troubleshooting, but just FYI, I can go and tell my manager, hey, that release is working really nice in terms of the performance, because we see how the stable release, the performance time, I'm just looking right here, is how long it takes is a lot more than the new canary release. So like Windproof, if this was insurance, they're like, okay, we're good. Like our website is fast. So the canary release is working. But remember, we're going after the number of errors. They're getting too many errors. More or less the same, so it's not related to the release. Those errors are not related to the release. Canary release and a stable release have the same number of errors. So the other variable, and we're working with the tags in the container, that we look at is into the data center. So in terms of the response time, and just let me go over this. I have 3 data centers. I have the central, so I'm just reading right here. I have the central in purple. I have the east in blue and the west in magenta. So I have 3 data centers. They perform more or less the same at the same time. Now, okay, this is interesting. Errors per minute. So just recapping, we got a new deployment. We did a canary release, and then we suspected that the number of errors that we had a lot of errors of normal. We got notified by App Dynamics. That was related to the release. It wasn't, but when we come right here, we see the west, the data center west, that's in the tags from one of my Docker containers, has a lot of errors. So now I know that the problem is I have 4 containers running in the west. So that's where the problem is. I'm having a problem with the west data center. So that's how you can do troubleshooting, leveraging your tags. And I just happen to see by any tag that I define in my containers, I can just start comparing them and understand where my issue is. Any questions for the live demo? Anything? Just raise your hands. How many of you are running Docker in production? Okay. What do you use to troubleshoot? I guess so many. But if you can just name what do you use to troubleshoot today for? Okay, the competitor. Okay. We should give you a demo later about no, just kidding. Is anyone using App Dynamics in production to monitor the Docker containers? Huh, interesting. Okay, can talk later. No, just kidding. So the next thing, let's talk about what? Oh shoot, where did it go? Okay, I was it's about CI/CD, and then how to shorten the feedback loop. Once that is implemented and that they go into production, how can they just, especially insurance in any company, what are the things that this is not Dynamics, or that people can do, right? Just they can innovate faster, reduce the cycle. One of the things, and this is one of the things that I recommended, is just to tie, and we do this very well, is just to tie the user experience, the response time, in conversion funnels, to tie everything together, and they can start releasing into production. So compare releases into production, and that we saw one of the things that we saw was out of the box. But this is one of the dashboards that you can do. And what I really like, and what's this, I strongly recommend it for this customer, is just to be able, we see the 2 different releases, is to be able to tie the metrics, not only the response time, to something that's tangible to the execs. Because me, or I don't work there, but as a developer, I can just go and tell my execs at the C-level, hey, we're losing money. This is the problem. This is integration. So this is one integration that we offer with Jenkins, the software with Jenkins. So once that they release, that something is released, let's ensure how it's affecting, like if I drop something, like we can see that's the application deployment and the user experience. This is real time in production. And once that the application is deployed, we see the user conversions went down. So being able to integrate with those type of tools like Jenkins when I drop my code in production, that's extremely powerful. So I can just pull back if there is something, if the user conversions drop down, I know why. I can tie it right there by looking in the application or by a head rule saying like, I dropped my new this new release and my user's conversion went down or my release time, my response time went up. It's the same thing. So, what I learned let's see, I went quite fast over that. What I learned, like, for example, this is the case with insurance. They know what to do. They know what to do. They need to provide new functionality. They need to be fast. They know how to do it. And they know the agile is the path to money. The first thing that I learned is there are expectations, like there is miscommunication about what the C-level expect and what the developers can offer. Also, there is a lot of learning. I have heard a lot of management has learned that they have burned a lot of developers because their expectations, they couldn't manage the expectations. I also learned that it's very important to bridge how a developer communicates to how someone in the management or C-level communicates. So being able to tell a company, hey, I'm migrating this Docker this application into these Docker containers, and being able to convey that with the business metrics. This is like how many users are converting. This is how many more users are you making. That's very powerful. So being able to bridge that and work as a team is very important. So it's just about the people as it is as technology. As I say, I implemented, the POV was successful, we presented, everybody clapped. A year later, the company is more or less in the same boat. From the technical perspective, they are just migrating to the cloud, but we have the customers. The website looks the same. People cannot still take the picture of the driver's license and get a quote. They're still losing money. So this is slow. It takes time, and I think, I don't want to say it starts from the top, but it's a lot of political games as well. That's something else that I saw. It's just like something wanted to do Cloud Foundry. Other people wanted to do the Google Cloud. Other people wanted to do the AWS. So a lot of political. That's also what I have learned. So, and only if time allows, and it does allow it. Just wanted to share one more thing. The cloud migration, that I didn't do this during the prototype, but this is some of the dashboards that we propose and that we work with our customers to do. Is like they can see, okay, then on-prem, the conversion rate, and notice how we do and that's recommended, like how we do the performance tie and how we tie that to what is relevant to the business. Because that's how we, as a developers or as technical people, we get the power. Because they don't care. I mean, it's not like they don't care, but C-level, it's a little bit more meaningful to them to understand if my application is faster, this is how much money your business is making. This is one example. This is another dashboard of just like the data center and like the different orders. Like, okay, this is the quote services, and you can see how they're sensitive to the head rules. It could be like the response times is higher than normal, or they have more errors, like the example that we did and expected. Lastly, this is a different view. This is more of executive, and we can see the user journey, the different steps, how the data center compares with AWS. So that's part of the dashboards that we help our customers, that I have done, some of my colleagues, while the customers are migrating to the cloud. What I have seen in the industry, I see a lot of migration to the microservices. I see a lot of sometimes confusion. A lot of people changing job, choosing job depending on the technology. So that's pretty much. That's it. I'm open for questions, comments. I just wanted to, anything that you just would like to share. Let me see if I have a question for you. Yes, have any of you worked with .NET and the latest Amazon image, .NET on Docker on Windows? No? Amazon. But what about Windows? Okay. Oh, Azure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we see, and I have seen, I just based my presentation out of this one story. But a lot of our customers go to Azure, and yes, I have worked with Azure. This one, what was particular is they just wanted to do AWS. They didn't want to go into Azure. So it was Azure and .NET, which was a little bit trickier, but I haven't seen problems like that. Azure, I haven't worked on an Azure Docker, but it shouldn't be as trickier as just doing it out of EC2. Yeah. Oh, okay. And when you mean support of oh yes, absolutely. So I'm trying. So I work, and I'm being very careful. So I work for App Dynamics, and one of the things I don't want to make this a commercial about App Dynamics, but yes, that's what I don't want to just App Dynamics. But yes, all of these dashboards and everything that I show should work in Azure. It's no difference. The reason why I'm only focusing in AWS ECS is because that's the story that I'm sharing. That's what I work in the customer. But App Dynamics support Azure. Many of our customers do Azure. We support Google Cloud. We support, of course, Amazon. So any of that. Something interesting that I have seen is that, I don't know what I decided to mention this now, but in San Francisco, most customers use Java. Moving to Los Angeles, most customers use .NET, which I thought it was interesting. This one was in San Francisco, it was .NET, but they have Java. But when I just go down, I wasn't expecting that. And it's not just a little bit, it's just noticeable enough. That because I knew it Java, that's what I learned. So I have to learn .NET, and now that I moved to LA, I know the .NET. So that was something that I found interesting. Also, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the presentation, that I found really interesting was working with the movie industry. That is fun. Just going into Universal Studio, Disney, and seeing how the technology is being applied to the movies. That has been really cool. It has been a different experience. And also, from the technology perspective, out of San Francisco, just every single technology. I remember, and was with them, with this company. This was when Amazon announced the Lambda, a couple years ago, or last year, a couple years ago, they announced Lambda. And they announced in the conference, and when I come next week to see the customers, do you support Lambda? And I'm they don't even have the specs out. It just was announced. So I see that trend in San Francisco, the latest, whatever is coming out, people are just asking, do you support this? They may have a use case or not, but just is very big about the technology in San Francisco. And of course, in Los Angeles it is, but and I see a lot of companies. I work a lot of companies in LA doing Docker, so it's not as, I was surprised to see that because LA is a little bit more laid back, so I was surprised to see that so many entertainment companies using Docker. What other questions do you have?
One small question. And how long does migration takes for this insurance company from the team to the final production state?
So they're still working on it. So I did a prototype, and the prototype was very small. So the prototype took about, again, I think a lot have to do because a lot of the things were new, but the prototype took about 3 weeks. Migrating itself, because this company is very big, it doesn't take, because it's very big, it's a lot of politics involved. It takes a little bit of a time that is still working on it, trying to migrate. From the technical perspective, it's not that long, especially because they have tools like App Dynamics where they are already used to, and like they have the canary releases, so if something goes wrong, they are less afraid of doing things. Like you can see in the canary release, if something goes wrong, they know why right away in production, they just can pull it back. So actually that capability, if I can say something, and I think as a human beings, losing fears is very powerful. So having the capability of having these canary releases and being able to monitor in production and know exactly where the problem is, that really helps to innovate fast. Because I can just push something, if it goes wrong, I can just pull it back, see what's the impact pretty quickly, and then troubleshoot. What was the company that, it was a shoes company. And what they were doing is they were getting ready for Black Friday in the States. So the way that, and they wanted to test with real users. So the way that they drive traffic is that to their website, they gave coupons for Halloween. So October, the end of October, right before Black Friday, they will drive real traffic. They have App Dynamics in it. They gave the coupons away. A lot of people came to their website with the coupons. The website came down. But this was before Black Friday, and they have App Dynamics, so they were able to like troubleshoot, understand what was the problem was, and bring it back up. But Black Friday, they were ready to go. But can you imagine if like they wait until Black Friday? That's like the biggest sale, and their website comes down. Like in Macy's in the States, their website has come down in the last few years. So like having this type of canary releases and being able to test in production, that has been huge. And when you want like to test with like real customers. So we are going to work with this is a project that I'm going to be starting, and I want to replicate what we did last year with this company. And I just don't want to say names, but this year, and we want to do the same thing. Let's give coupons so we can tag the releases, and then we can see, okay, just drive real traffic, and if the website comes down, we can just fix it very quick. And let's check time. We have 10 minutes, and we don't. What other questions do you have? Any comments? So if we're done, that means we can just finish 10 minutes early, and I really appreciate your time, the questions, and yes, App Dynamics, if you just, this is not supposed to be a commercial, but I love working there, and there has been a great experience, and yeah, thank you.